My name is Marvin Jacobs. I'm giving this little webinar on student life in the USA. I think to start off, it's best to just give an idea of who I am, what I do at my school, and then go move on from there. So first of all, I'm, like I said, Marvin Jacobs. I go to Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's in the U.S. It's like a university, not a college. So typically 4 years, and you can go on to graduate school from there. I am political science and economics dual major. That's in our school, the College of Arts and Sciences. So I do both, and I'll explain a little bit how that works later if you're interested. On my free time, I'm part of the Psi Upsilon fraternity. So I was the house manager, so any physical building things in the house I took care of. I was also the steward, so organizing the food situation in the house, making sure that everybody got the right type of food, any allergies stuff was taken care of. I settled all that, and typically just helped around. We did a lot of volunteering work outside the school to the local community, and stuff like that. We're trying to be leaders in the community. I also did work study at the University Center. That's basically when you have financial aid, the school will allow you to work on the campus, to do like work in the like gym. I did the student center, so I was the information desk. If you had lost and found, I was also there for that. So that's some of the things I do. Those are the main things. I did other stuff as well, but it's not too crazy. I'm currently going to be a senior this coming fall semester, so I have a lot of experience with different types of students, different types of environments. I've been through the gauntlet, you could say. So if you have any questions, I can definitely help answer them. So the first thing I want to talk about student life in the U.S. is obviously academics and studying, which is going to be the main premise as a student. So part of the first thing you have to be notice of, typically there's we call them exam seasons, one in the middle and one at the end of the term. These, like as written, can take up 80% of your grade or more, so they're obviously the most important to study for. During the exam season, students will typically buckle down. They won't go out. They won't do anything. The school is almost quiet. It's almost deaf. Libraries are filled. That's the time you take to study. That's the time you take to pay attention to your work. Even before then, like maybe 2-3 weeks, students are already planning for midterms, already creating guides, already being prepared to do what they need to do. When it comes to class schedule, it can vary per semester. Typically, you go through registration, which is you'll go online. There's going to be a deadline set for a time, and between then, students register for different classes online. All that entails is clicking for a class, signing up. You try to get there as early as possible because the class may be filled, and you won't know when will be open for more students. So that's obviously going to be a big worry. So a lot of times people are very stressed about that time because they're trying to get the right classes, trying to get through make sure that all their requirements for their degrees is filled out. So it's very important. For graduate students, though, classes typically have around three classes per semester, but each of those classes require a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of projects. You can be a teacher's assistant, which it requires you to teach a class, grade undergraduate students' work. All of this very high-end, and not intensity, but high demand work. Your more specialized classes, so like as an undergraduate, you're taking a lot of classes that are like B classes, kind of, where you're just kind of filling out your credits to see trying different stuff. You can, if you like it, you can minor, but graduate students is very different. You're spending a lot more time just on specialized work. You know exactly what you're doing. Teachers think you know what you're doing, so you're gonna have to be more independent. You're gonna have to put in a lot more effort, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is when you're studying it, for whether it be a graduate student, undergraduate, one of the best things to do is manage your time. You see in a lot of classes, there can be a lot of free time to do whatever you want. I suggest taking a couple hours of just studying, making sure you're prepared, making sure that you have all the information down, that all the notes you have are sound, clear, that maybe you want to get together as a group every now and then to say, okay, do we have all the information? Am I right or wrong in this? Can you check some of my work? Of course, don't cheat, but like just like as a group, like get together to study as a group and all this other stuff. Even as a grad student, it's more imperative, I would say, because you're basically almost entirely independent. Teachers don't, well, there's stuff for you for like if you need help, but like you're expected to be able to know what you're doing on your own. Teachers don't expect to give you any help. If you're doing research, you're expected to already know how to write. You're expected to already know how to cite things, stuff like that. So it's a lot more challenging as a grad student, I would say. But all of it's very obtainable. Here's an example of it, like when I was talking about with the scheduling. This was one of my schedules for my classes. As you can see on the board on the screen, there's a lot of free time. So deciding what you want to do, if you have an exam or two next week, maybe take a couple hours, like from 1 to 3, to study. And if you have extracurriculars, maybe finding a way to fit that better into your schedule. Obviously, exams can be on the same day, or like I was an 18 class, I could have an exam that day. So making sure you're well rested, making sure that like you're planning ahead. Like maybe if I have an exam Friday, I'll start studying Tuesday or Monday, just so or not start studying, but like have a hard sit down where I'd be like, where you're sitting down, you're making sure this information. Do I have all this information down? Do I at least have the core information down? If you're not that great of a studier, how like setting an outline for yourself and when you're gonna have time to study more for this exam, or if you have it on the same day, just pushing it back and making sure your schedule is fully set. When it comes to we're gonna talk about housing, food, and living. And I put these all together because they're all kind of related to each other. Undergraduates they typically take a school meal plan when it comes to food. So freshmen and sophomores, meal plans, they vary by school. They have different prices per meal plan, and typically, from my experience, it's cheaper and easier once you're out of the freshman year, because usually as a freshman, the school forces you to pay for that meal plan. But once you're out of that, you can buy your own groceries and like cook your own food and all this other stuff. You don't have to pay that on your fee, so on your school fee. So like you can lessen some of your debt. Just finding ways to cut out some of the extra costs school can have. For graduate students, it's very much the same, except for when you first get in, you're not forced to. So it's cheaper to go off campus, not necessarily go out like to like buy foods at like restaurants or anything all the time, but just making your own groceries, like setting yourself like a budget for the week. Like I'm only going to spend this amount of money, can easily save you some money in the long run. I've seen people who go out all the time and they blow through money because food can be very expensive. Like if you go out like say like 2 times, like Thursday and Friday, I could easily be $40 you're spending right there, because you're also paying for other stuff. So just trying to budget your money, how much you're going to spend, go buy some groceries, cooking your own meal will definitely be more time effective than constantly going out. Also, typically as a student, you'll have a student ID, so you'll get some discounts in the local areas, like maybe 10% off or something like that. Take advantage, because it's there for you, so you might as well use it. You know what I mean? So I highly recommend you doing that. Here's an example of like a picture of like what our school meal plan is. So like you have the 225 block, which is, you see the meal cost, and that's per semester. So like that stacks up eventually. Dining knowledge is like basically money that you put into a credit card that the school uses. So that's like your student ID, so you can pay for like individual meals, or like there's some other like little store on the school you can use to pay for that. Like I said, you can see all the prices, you can look at it, you can tell if I want to go with this plan, if I want to save money, what's the best plan for me. Taking all that into consideration before you go into the school is also important, so you can see how much your actual costs going into school will be. Highly recommend that you pay attention to that. And like I said, once you compare it to when you're paying for your own meals, you probably won't even like, you spend like $100 every couple of weeks on food, on groceries, and because if each meal lasts like 1 to 3 days, or like however you set it up, it'll be way more cheaper and effective than paying for a school meal plan. For the living situation, undergrad freshmen are always required to live on campus, basically, unless you're like a community college where it's a little bit different, or trade school. So all these examples are mainly given for like a 4-year university or college, instead of a community 2-year bachelor degree or not bachelor, associate's degree. So freshmen, you're typically required to always live on campus. Sophomores, they have more options around campus, but typically will stay on campus. Juniors, seniors, and grad students will always move off of campus because you're paying less in fees. If you're paying for if your room and board can cost $13,000 a semester, but if you move off campus and you're paying only $500 per month, your amount of money you're paying for school dramatically decreases. Couple this with the food situation. If you're paying for your own groceries, you're saving a lot of money. Just you're not paying for housing, you're not paying for food. You might have to walk a bit farther. You pay for your own groceries and take the time out of your day, but overall, it becomes cheaper to live on campus and go to school. Students, if you get a car, school may make you pay for parking and stuff like that. Not the greatest thing. It could be like $200 a semester, but if you don't want to do that, usually there's buses around campus or to like the local mall for free. So those are our options, but just want more mobility. Uber is also a thing. A lot of college campuses, so you can take advantage of that. But after a while, the costs stack up. If you're paying $10 per Uber just to go one way, then but figuring out transportation is going to be a important step once you're on the campus. If you're living off campus and are renting a place, when I mean off campus, like typically the school has sometimes school has other housing. It could be fraternity housing. It can be just houses that aren't the typical dorm style. It's more apartment style. There's listings usually for that. So finding which one suits there's property listings. So like different houses are shown. Finding which one suits your needs best, where you would like to live, how close or far you are from the school, how close you are far from friends, and all the other stuff can be important. A lot of people I know schedule in advance, like a month, like a year or two. So finding what's open, all this other stuff, and the school should usually help you, but it may vary by school. Getting furniture can also be interestingly hard because it's hard if you're at a college, right, or university. You don't want to pay for furniture, pay a couple thousand for furniture that you're only going to use for like a few years. So typically what people do is go like on Craigslist for cheap furniture, or like buy. Usually, if you're on the school Facebook, sometimes people will be selling furniture. So I recommend using those outside resources because usually find them in some way find them at a discount, because it'll be easy for you to get rid of, both first of all to get rid of and to obtain, because it'll be cheaper. Like this is an example website from my school, placesforstudents.com, where you can see different listings of apartments nearby, like what utilities they give, how much they cost per month, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, all that stuff. It's important to check all this out. Like, where is it unpackered? Is it fully furnished, or is it you have to pay for furniture? All this stuff is important to look at. Here's another thing where if you look on the left side of the screen, it shows like typical housing for regular students, so like freshmen, sophomores, even juniors who want to live on campus, or seniors, honestly. And you can see the price difference for if you're living on that, it's like $4,000 semester, or trimester, depending on whatever school you go to, or it'll be cheaper, but it'll be like 2,000 per thing. But I'm sorry, I'm just rambling. But you can see 4,000 per semester on the left, and where if you're renting this is the school's own thing, so you can see it's cheaper even by the school standards, where they're paying like for on West Packard House, I don't know, a large bedroom is $580 compared. You're paying that per month, so obviously there's going to be a vast price difference. So looking into that, making sure you're choosing the right options for yourself. You might have to trek a little bit harder, but overall it's less expensive than paying the full wage to the school. Extracurriculars. Another thing that the students will always ask about for student life is like, what can you do outside of school? So you can do a variety of things. A lot of this is personal. So you can do anything from clubs to dance groups, student leadership, which is like student council or whatever your school offers, sports. You can do community service. You can do Green Life fraternity, sorority, which have their own sort of lifestyle going on within the school. Some schools, if your school's smaller, they may not have it, so I wouldn't worry too deeply about it, but just an option. Part of the reason that it fills the void, like what I said, we were talking about scheduling. Sometimes you have a lot of free time. Finding stuff to do in your free time can make your college experience more enjoyable. But also, if you're depending on what you're doing, you go on your resume. So like when I was part of the Psi fraternity. I was a house manager, which was part of the executive board, also steward at the same time. That shows I can take on a lot of leadership a lot of leadership roles. I can be a part of the community, like because we did volunteering things through our fraternity and all this other stuff. So like when you're trying to explore what you can do in schools, taking that into consideration is very vital. But you could also like, want to have fun if you want to join like club sports, like maybe like a gaming club. I don't know, whatever your thing is. Doing that just to fill the void of the time can make your college experience, like I said, more enjoyable. Also, word of advice: don't take on too much because you can become extremely stressed out. As a student, if you have 5 classes set up, or as you're asking, like 3 classes set up, a lot of research, a lot of homework due, and you're trying to do 3 extracurriculars, but you can't, all the time it doesn't work out, and you're stressed about how am I going to stay for this exam, or how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that. That's honestly just going to overstress yourself, and you're going to have to, it's up to you to realize I have to take a step back. What's important to me? What do I value? What should I do the most, or what will I do the best? What will impact my future? What do I want to continue doing? Looking at all that and understanding, focusing, or are my grades more important than this thing right now? All of that needs to be looked at in extracurriculars, and identifying for yourself is the most important way of going about that. What people do on the weekends and holidays, varies a lot. On holidays, most American students will either return home if they live in the area or go on a trip. So like during spring break, people like to go to Canada or Mexico just because they can, or like visit a friend's house. They can't stay at their home. They don't have like a place to stay because they're like, if you're international, you don't want to necessarily fly back for a break, for like a week break. So finding some place to stay with a friend is also very helpful. If you're a graduate student or a junior or senior or whatever, if you have your own place, you can also, like, if you have your own you're renting your own place. It doesn't hurt to just stay on campus or stay in your place, do whatever you need to do, relax, chill, just take the time off to be with, if your friends are there with you, it doesn't hurt as well. Typically holidays are planned in advance, so if people want to go do something, like if they want to go to Canada or whatever, people spend like weeks from like maybe even months in advance planning, because be a lot to process, especially if you don't have the money for it. Learning to save up your money during your time there, all this other stuff is important. People do that often, I would say. Weekends are more of a personal choice, but it isn't unusual for students to go and get dinner, go out with their friends at nighttime, that typical thing. Clubs, sport events, different organizations like business organizations will meet or have trips to different places. So um, a lot of what I tell people at our schools, college is what you make of it. So if you choose to stay in your dorm or your house the entire weekend, that's up to you. You can do what you want. But if you want to have a more fulfilling experience and see what else the school can offer, I recommend going out, tracking for yourself, seeing what you want to do, maybe meeting different people. Saturday is seen as the main day to relax typically, because after Friday, you still might have Friday classes, Friday exams, or homework to do Friday night. So Saturday is typically the day where things aren't exactly due, or like you just have more free time. Sunday is usually dedicated to studying, or to do work, anything, because the week is about to start. People are more about to get more focused up. So typically you only have sometimes people go relax, start weekend on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, depending on what their class schedule is like. Like you saw mine, I didn't have much on Friday, so I could take some time off like on Thursday night, Friday night, whatever. But it all depends. Like I said, it all depends on what your schedule is like, how much work you have, what your friends are doing, your clubs, and all this other stuff. So that's all based on you. Um, and it's one thing I want to mention, like location and size determine a lot. Um, if you're going to a smaller school with less than 5,000 students and you're like in a rural area, right? There's not gonna be too much to do outside of your school. Your school itself is gonna be very close knit. I'm sure there's gonna be organizations around, but maybe not too many. So, and in like medium and large schools they kind of have more going for them. Not more going for them, but like more options of things to do. So, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. Like if your school is like like over 15,000 plus students, you're basically in a town itself. So if there's going to be so much to do, so many things to offer, so many events to go to, that identifying where you actually want to go and all this stuff can be hard. Like so many events where like I know some colleges if there's like if it's like a large college or university, they'll offer like concerts where they'll pay people to come and can go to those events and stuff. But honestly, like I said, if a lot of your experience depends on what you choose, where you choose to go, and like what you choose to do, how you choose to do it yourself. Um, Recognize what type of atmosphere you want in your college experience, because you can go to a school and like on paper it can look great. On paper, like the school is like, oh, this has this type of program, but if you go to the school and then you hate where you are, I've seen this a lot where people are like, I love the program or whatever, that's the best program, but I hate being here and I don't want to be here anymore. You can, it's important to say like, is that right for me? Like I understand like if it's the best program available for you at the time, tough it out, right? You should put your best work into it, but if you're hating like where you are, if you're hating what you're doing, then maybe think twice about, or not think twice, but maybe you recognize maybe I should do something myself different, or maybe there's something else I can do that can make this a better experience for me. Also, price of living. Depending on where you live, like housing can be crazy expensive or crazy cheap. If you're in a like rural area, like Idaho, like versus Idaho, like say Idaho, like something like that, which is like New York. But trying to find a place to live in New York would be very expensive. So, and like I don't think NYU is that big of a school. It's like a medium-sized school probably. But yeah. Here, let me get to my point. Living is all based on location in America. So, and if you live far from your school, but it's like there's good transportation, you have a car and all this stuff, then it's not as harmful to you. But if you're like a very large city, like everything around you is expensive, food can be more expensive, housing can be more expensive, transportation can be more expensive, and you're gonna have to learn to adjust and learn how much money you're gonna have set up for yourself. And honestly, like it's a bigger factor than most people expect, because I've learned like I've seen people who come from like New York or Los Angeles go to a smaller school and they're like, I hate it here. I want to transfer to different schools. I feel like there's nothing to do. I'm bored all the time. I don't enjoy myself. Like even though they like the school or whatever, or even if they don't, even either or, it has a bigger experience than you would think. What else can I say? Also, depending on where you are, if you're West Coast versus East Coast of the U.S., or if you're in the South versus you're in the Mid East, or yeah, something like that. Yeah, and the experience and the cultural experience you'll get will vary by each place. Like if you're in the East Coast, it's a lot colder, so preparing for that type of weather and like how people react to each other is always different. The lingo, like the accents people will have, the colloquial language people will have will be different from if you're in the north of versus you're in like say Florida versus New England. It can all be different. So looking at that, like it's important to say like what type of experience are you looking for in college, and where do you expect to go, and what do you expect to do? It's all important to look at. Um, that was that's all I have for right now in this webinar. But if you have any more questions, my information is on the screen. Um, Final thoughts. Um, Honestly, it's hard if you're not from. It's hard being an international student if you're not from the area to determine what you want in your student life. But if you're unsure, but you honestly want to go, from the information you search and you want to go to school, um, just learning to adjust. What my grandma said to me when I was going to college, and I'm from Los Angeles. My school's in Bethlehem, TVA. It's entirely on the different side of the like country. Um, just take 2 or 3 months or even a year, maybe if necessary. Try to get used to where you are to say like, oh, maybe I should have done this better. To be self-reflective of what you're doing. To try to say like, okay, I may not like this at the moment, but is it because I'm missing home, or is it because I'm just not used to what I'm doing here, or it's just I'm being too critical of the situation at hand. So looking at all these different types of things is important to like creating your own version of student life. Like I said, there's plenty of ways you can cut costs in college. So making sure that you're doing your best sort of way, best looking at the best methods to do that is also important. Um, Thank you very much. That's all I have for today. If you have any more questions, like I said, email me at mjacobs2527@gmail.com, and individual meetings will through simply book in the website. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.